This is a demonstration of how to use a McKenzie gauge. This is a kit you will receive, and we'll show you how to operate the McKenzie gauge. We're going to show you an example of how to take a 2mm bite on a patient. This is the 0.5 millimeter stick that we put into the handle, and this is the 1.5 millimeter jig that we put in the handle. It doesn't matter which part of the handle you place the jigs, you just have to have the groove side up. So you slide in, and this may be a little tight. The more you use it, the more it loosens up. Slide inside of the black slider, turn it over. There's another slot. I'll put the 0.5 inside of this slot, slide it in till it's tight, and then this is how you adjust the bite back and forth. It's always a good idea to keep the slider on the lower when you take the bite. So I'll bring a patient in to show you demonstration on how to take the bite. Now, if you've inserted the sticks properly, the little gauge on the black slider will be right at the 5 millimeter mark. So you'll be end to end at the 5 millimeter mark, so you can use the marks. They're millimeter increments to gauge how far you move the mandible forward. The thickness, we already have inserted a 1.5 and a 0.5, so that's a 2 millimeter opening on this case. So once again, making sure you have the slider facing downward. We're going to take this patient to an end-to-end bite with a 2 millimeter opening. So you take this to the patient, have them bite in the jig, position ideal, make sure midlines are on. Do not turn this down because it moves the mandible back. If you put this up, it moves the mandible forward. So take the patient at an end-to-end relationship like this. Hold on, you're not in. There we go. Now the patient's in the jig at an ideal 2 millimeter opening. Then you can place an elastic to hold, or you can actually just have the patient hold in that position. And then at that time you can flow your bite registration material, and you have an ideal 2 millimeter anterior opening. And you can do so with different sizes. You just change out the size jig to a 2 millimeter and a 1.5, which would be 3.5 opening. So you just find where the patient is comfortable, or if you're taking a twin block bite, this is ideal for a twin block bite. Any TMD bite where you're trying to find a comfortable position, this is a good bite. The red jig with the R on it is for a Rickinator bite, ideal overlap, ideal over jet. You can see that it's a perfect finish with about a millimeter over jet, millimeter over bite, really 0.5. So you have to have the patient bite very gently on this, and you do not need the handle to use the Rickinator bite jig. Okay, here's the Rickinator jig. You do not need to use the handle or slider, it's just independent. So you set the patient at an ideal class 1, ideal overlap, have the patient bite in the jig. Remind the patient, don't bite down hard or you will snap the jig. Keep it parallel to hold it in the ideal position. Then you can have the patient hold at an ideal position, flat, parallel to the ground. Let's drop that down a little bit. Perfect, right there. Then flow your bite registration material either side, and you have an ideal bite for a Rickinator incisor blocks to hold the ideal finishing position. Done.
Boom.
Okay.
Wait.